He keeps talking about the Bible in several places. He keeps talking about little children. Jesus says you have to be like a little child. The point of a little child back then wasn't that children were innocent and pure, because they didn't really believe little children were innocent and pure. And after having to grab my little toddler daughter out of the road because she thought it was fun to get us all worked up, I'm not sure that children are innocent and pure either. But the thing about children that was important was that they can't do it on their own. They need to rely on somebody else. They don't get their way when they feel like getting their way. They have to let other people lead them. And that was what Jesus meant when he said you have to be like a little child. You have to let God lead the way, which is not easy. For some of us, it's harder than for others. And when you let God lead the way, things happen. There are ways that you can hear what God is saying to you, what the Holy Spirit is saying to you. Prayer is one of the obvious ones. And I find, I thought about this morning because I pray. And sometimes I get a real clear sense of what I'm supposed to do. Then I pray really hard because I want to do it. I'm serious. You get to a point where even if in prayer you feel like you know where God is trying to lead you, you still have to go there. Not always easy. But prayer, God, I don't want to get too caught up in one thing. God speaks to different people in different ways. And told this story before, maybe. I think I have. That when I was pretty young, my dad, who I mentioned was a monk, he took me up on this hill over Lake Michigan. And he sat me up there. And he just sat. And then we walked down. And when we got to the top of the hill, he said, "Did you feel anything?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, that was God." And that was kind of my introduction to coming to know God. But there are people who would have walked up the hill and sat there and come back down. And we said, "Did you feel anything?" "No, not really." Doesn't mean you're not in touch with God. It means we each have different ways of being in touch with God. Prayer is important for all of us. There's so many different kinds of prayer, though. That's a whole other sermon in itself. But sometimes you might need to listen to God kind of an old-fashioned way by reading. We have this book that God gave us. If sitting in silence and waiting for something to happen doesn't mean you can always read if you're a reader and find that God has a message for you. But beyond that, there's, I think, one other way is people who already are listening to God passing on something to you. There's a word for this, it's called advice. There are a lot of people out there who you know who know things you don't. This is nothing personal. There's people who know a lot of things I know. And one of the best ways that God speaks to us is through the people who He's put in our lives to reach out to us. None of us are alone. And that's one of those questions that comes up from a lot of people. What's important about church? I believe in God and I can have this relationship with God. Why do I need to be in a church or in a... And the answer is because sometimes other people have something for you. Sometimes you can learn from the people around you. And so, if you're not the kind of person who can sit still for 10 whole minutes, if you're not the kind of person who picks up a book and gets a lot out of it, you're certainly a person who knows other people. And to reach out for that advice, that community, that togetherness is one of the best ways to hear God speaking to you. And so today, we have this chance to receive the Holy Spirit. Those of us who have been through baptism have had the chance to receive the Holy Spirit already. But the Holy Spirit comes to us each and every day. God's Spirit is with us all the time. And even the people in this room who have spent a long time learning how to be in tune with God can always learn a little more. And for those of us who, like me, struggle with it a lot more, it's a chance to renew that commitment to following God. Remember, the commitment comes not because of what we've done, not because of what we did already, but just because God has chosen to be there for us. And so today, as we come to the invitation, as we come to this chance where we can join together, I'd like everybody to stand. And as we sing the invitation song, I'd like you to think seriously. If you are thinking about being baptized, about being part of the church, if you want to be part of this church, then I invite you to come down and accept the invitation this morning as we join together singing one of those great songs, Just As I Am. Please be seated.